Welcome to another Hobo Talks. On this one, we're going to talk about how I'm making over $1,000 with my stocks. And I don't mean $1,000 for the year, I mean more like $1,000 a month. But before I really get into that, one thing I want to say is I think it's very important for you, especially if you are an early investor, to decide what kind of investor you're going to be. You don't necessarily have to go in all one way or another, but there are different advantages, pros, and cons to being, let's say, a value investor versus a dividend investor. Most of my account is designed to be a dividend investor, but realistically, over the long term, more than likely, you would make more money going the other route and being a growth investor. So I just wanted to put that out there and just throw that out there. Now let's get to the fun stuff. As you can see here for my portfolio, and I have multiple, but this is my main one right here. I have most of my money into Ulti, which would generally speaking be considered a bad thing. You never really want to be this concentrated into one particular fund, but that is what I've chosen to do. And the main reason I've chosen to do this is I want income. I want income to pay down bills. I want to try to get into better position in my life. And I, like some people, struggle with selling stocks. When things are way up, it's very hard for me to say it's okay to sell this because I always think, well, this could go higher. So this is almost like a little bit of an easier cheat code for me, just to have a position where I kind of don't have a choice. It's going to give me the dividends one way or another. Either I plug them back into the stock via drip, or I put it towards something. And this is a way for me to do it, and to do it aggressively towards bills. At some point, I probably will trim this down and or put this extra money into more of the growth stocks that are safer, that don't have quite as much NAV erosion, things like that. But like I said, let's get to the fun stuff. So Ulti is the main position I have. As you can see here, I have 3,157 shares. So just to put this into something pretty easy, we'll say 3,157. We'll just do a flat number there. Last payment is 9 cents. You can of course add on the pennies if you want. If you have enough shares, then it does actually turn into something. But that is $284. Now, the thing that's important about this number is, if you think about this, this is weekly. So realistically, you could times this by four, and that alone gets you over $1,000. But one problem with Ulti is there is some pretty significant NAV erosion. Most of these yield mac funds have something like that. So you can kind of, looking forward, you say 3,157 times, let's just do zero point 0.8. Let's just go down that extra penny. You're still at 252 times 4 weeks in a month. You're still at $1,000. So even if this drops down a little bit, you are still in a safe spot for $1,000. So for about 17 grand, you could basically be in the exact same spot as me. You're getting $1,000 a month. Now, one thing you can look at this, right? So this is 1,010. So we say 17,143 divided by 10. What was it? 1010? Something like that. So in about 16, really 17 months, you make your money back. So in a year and a half, give or take, you basically have all your money back. And this 17 here would be closer to 34. Not exactly, but just doing some rough math there. Now, one thing I think is important to kind of point out is this first line shows 21,000 as an ETA of how much it thinks I will make off of this stock. It's a guess, it's an estimate, you know. But one thing about Ulti is they changed their fund a while back. They used to give out more money, and when they basically reconstructed their fund and the way it works, and they went to weekly, it toned things down a bit. So for Ulti in particular, I like to kind of calculate it myself, right? So this is essentially a monthly number, assuming we did 252, which is based off of 8 cents, not the 9 cents it is currently. And previously it was at 10 cents. We can then times this by 12, right? So to me, the monthly number or the yearly number of this is actually 12,000, even though it believes it to be 21. It would only really be 21 if things went up. And in my experience with the Navarosion, that is not realistic. It is really not realistic, and I don't want to mislead folks. But that being said, we have a couple other funds that are helping us get some money. So another yield max fund, and this was actually my original main one, was NVIDIA. Based on NVIDIA started to climb. This fund also climbed with it. But once things kind of mellowed out, evened out, this one began to drop as well a little bit. So this one used to do $1 every month, and now you can see we're down to about 64 cents. So I can kind of do the same math. We do point. Actually, let's start with the things. We have 94 right here, almost 100 shares of NVIDIA currently. A little bit more than 94. Let's do this times 64. I believe that is a realistic number. Now, this one does pay monthly, so this is your monthly number, and then times that by 12. And that is $721. As you can see here, this number is even a little bit higher, and mainly because this fund has also gone down a bit from a monthly standpoint. So I built this out really quick just to kind of give you a little bit more of a defined number. So I'm going ahead and going ahead. So I went ahead and used the 8 cents here instead of the 9 cents. So really kind of undercutting this, but I know eventually Ulti's going to go down. So I feel like it's a more honest number to roll with. So you got 8 cents here. I did a times 4 since this is a weekly one. Put that number here. Basic comes out to $12,123. I got NVIDIA 94 cents. This is a monthly one. So I went ahead and did that. That is a total of $60 a month times 12, 726. And an XDTE at $130 or 130 shares at 16 cents. This is also a weekly payer. So this one jumps up quite a bit as well. So I went ahead, did that times the 4. I got 1,057 shares here. So put that all together. You get a yearly dividend number of almost 14 grand, just slightly shy of that. And if you wanted to kind of flip this the other way and try to figure it out, you wanted to say, hey, I want $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 for the year. You can kind of do it in reverse. You can say 12,000, do the monthly numbers. I think this particular version of the math only works with the monthly. So I did this 8 cents times 4 to get 32 cents. If you do the math of that, 32 divided by 12, 37.50. I divided that by 12 because this is a monthly number. So this comes out to you need 3,125 shares per the current price of $5.43. That's just shy of $17,000. $17,000, as far as I know, is the cheapest thing you could do to get $1,000 a month. Could be something cheaper, could be something more dangerous, could be something safer. This is what I know of right here. OT 17 grand. Now NVIDIA used to be, like I said, used to give you $1. So just to kind of mess with the math here, if we put $1 in here, if you look, this was just shy of that. This was actually beating that 16,333, but not currently the case. So 64 here cents, kind of the same math going across here. You got to do the 12. You need 1,555 shares at 1633. That's $25,000. Still possible, but there's a pretty huge jump from one to the other. XDT, the other one I mentioned, weekly payer, did the same math here. You need 1,204 shares at $44 each That comes out to about 53,000. And the one that I believe to be probably the safest is JetQ. In order to do that same thing, 12,000 shares, paying out about 44 cents each, comes out to this number here. You divide that by 12 to get the monthly shares you need, and that is $2,262 at 57 cents. You still need 100 grand, 129 grand. That's a lot. One slight thing that would help you in this particular case, JEPQ, as opposed to these other ones, actually does go up in value, meaning that the dividends also have a growth number. So even if you can't quite get there anytime soon, this one will actually grow, which will allow the amount of shares needed to go down, which then will get you closer to this number sooner. Whereas all the rest of these, you basically have to get there and then go down. Now, would I recommend anyone actually do this? Not financial advice, but I'm going to say no. I do like Ulti. I like what they do and I like the income that it generates, but I don't love the NAV erosion and I don't really like things that go down so consistently. So if I didn't have this need that I have to generate money, I would probably put that money into JEPQ. I think JEPQ is a much more solid fund. It still gives you money, even though at a much lower rate than what Ulti's doing. But I believe your money is a lot safer there. And I think, especially as people get older in life, you need to start to have a sense of safeness with your money. So I wouldn't recommend doing it long term. But if you just had a need to reach some level of money, if you needed to double your money, if you needed to do something like that, I think this is way better than, let's say, playing the lotto or wasting your money buying random cups of coffee. You can do small little investments into something like this and build you out something that will pay you throughout your life. All right, I don't want this to get too long, so we're going to end it here. In case you didn't know, I's a hobo. Thanks for watching.